The house of Downton is quiet, but tension hums in every corner. Behind those polished doors and silver trays, something dark is brewing. Not every threat comes with shouting or anger. Some come wrapped in calm words, spoken by a woman who has seen too much and forgiven too often. Tonight, that woman is Mrs. Hughes, and Edna is about to find out what happens when kindness runs out. Downton Abbey sleeps under a soft fog. The great halls are still, the ticking of the clock, the only sound that dares to move. Shadows stretch long across the carpet, and the silver in the pantry gleams faintly under candlelight. The servants' quarters lie quiet now, but the air carries whispers of the day's unrest, the kind that doesn't need to be spoken aloud. Mrs. Hughes, the housekeeper, walks through the corridors with her usual grace, steady, quiet, and alert. Her shoes make no noise, yet her presence fills the space. She knows this house better than anyone. Every creak in the floorboard, every sigh from the walls, every change in the air, she feels it. Tonight, though, something feels different. Edna Braithwaite, the new lady's maid, has been stirring trouble in ways polite society never speaks of. Her manners are perfect, her smile rehearsed, but there's something sharp beneath the surface. She's clever, bold, and far too curious about things that aren't her concern. Some say she's taken an interest in Tom Branson, the widowed son-in-law of the Crawley family. Others whisper that she's after something more, a way to climb higher. Even if it means stepping over those who trust her, Mrs. Hughes sees it. She always does. Years of keeping order in this grand house have taught her to read people like books left open. She notices the way Edna lingers when she shouldn't, the way she listens from behind doors, the way she smiles when no one's looking. And while the others are distracted by dinner service and gossip, Mrs. Hughes keeps her silence, watching, waiting. The candlelight flickers as she pauses by the servants' staircase. A faint sound catches her ear, laughter, soft and mocking, from down the hall. Edna again, talking too close to Branson, too bold for her station. Mrs. Hughes exhales, slow and steady. She's been patient long enough. In Downton Abbey, danger doesn't always wear a soldier's uniform or a thief's mask. Sometimes it wears a maid's apron and a false smile. And Mrs. Hughes, protector of the house, is about to make sure that smile fades before it does any more harm. Morning light creeps through Downton's tall windows. Soft but cold, the kind of light that exposes everything. The house wakes with quiet footsteps and the rustle of linen. But under the calm rhythm of the day, something uneasy moves. A tension, invisible but heavy, floats in the air like dust that never settles. Mrs. Hughes stands by the servants' table, checking the day's duties. Her eyes lift, calm but sharp, as Edna enters the room. The younger woman walks in with her head held a little too high, her smile polished but smug. She greets everyone sweetly, but her gaze lingers where it shouldn't, on Branson, who passes by with a distracted nod. Edna watches him leave, her expression softening into something dangerous, ambition disguised as affection. Mrs. Hughes says nothing, but her silence is a message. She observes, waiting for proof, but her instincts rarely lie. She's seen girls like Edna before, the ones who mistake kindness for weakness, the ones who think charm can rewrite the rules of class and consequence. Later that afternoon, Mrs. Hughes moves through the corridor near the servants' quarters. Voices drift from behind a half-open door. Edna's voice, low and coaxing, and Branson's uncertain. The words aren't clear, but the tone says enough. Edna is playing a dangerous game, pushing boundaries. Testing limits, Mrs. Hughes pauses, her hand on the doorframe, eyes narrowing. She doesn't interrupt. Not yet. She knows timing matters more than words. A public scolding might feed Edna's pride. What's needed here is something colder, a warning that leaves no room for argument. When Edna notices Mrs. Hughes watching her later that evening, she stiffens for just a second, then smiles again, pretending nothing's wrong. But Mrs. Hughes doesn't return the smile. She only nods, slow and knowing, before walking away. That simple nod says everything. I see you. I know what you're doing. And I'll stop you before you go too far. As night falls, Mrs. Hughes sits quietly in her small sitting room. The lamp flickers against her thoughtful face. She's not angry, not yet. What she feels is older, deeper. It's a protective instinct, born from years of keeping other people's secrets safe. And she knows that if Edna continues this path, there will be no coming back from it. Because in Downton Abbey, scandal doesn't just stain, it spreads. And Mrs. Hughes is determined to stop it before it consumes them all. The next morning, Downton looks peaceful, but peace here is never what it seems. The house moves like a clock, every person a cog, every sound rehearsed. Yet beneath the polished rhythm, something sharp begins to grind. Mrs. Hughes watches from the edges, where no one ever thinks to look. Her eyes follow details. Others miss. A folded letter left too close to the edge of the table. A locked drawer that wasn't locked yesterday. The faint smell of perfume that doesn't belong to any of the maids. She doesn't accuse. She observes, and she waits. Edna, meanwhile, grows careless. Power makes people bold, and she believes she's untouchable. Her laughter is louder now. Her steps lighter. She believes her charm is working, that Branson is falling under her spell, that Mrs. Hughes' silence means ignorance. But silence is not weakness. It's warning. At breakfast service, Mrs. Hughes moves quietly between the servants, giving calm instructions, but her mind is elsewhere. Every word Edna says, every stolen glance, every false smile, is another note in a melody she's memorizing. She knows this pattern, the slow build before the fall. Later that day, she finds something small but telling, a folded note tucked beneath a tray in the servants' hall. The handwriting is neat, deliberate. She doesn't need to open it to know whose it is. Still, she reads it just once, her face unmoving. It's a message from Edna to Branson, filled with soft words and hidden threats. The kind of letter that could ruin a man if the wrong eyes saw it. Mrs. Hughes folds it again, presses it flat with her palm, and slips it into her pocket. Her breath stays steady, but her heart hardens. This isn't just gossip anymore. This is danger in the kitchen. Edna hums as if nothing's wrong, arranging plates with practiced grace. She doesn't notice the way Mrs. Hughes studies her from the doorway. Eyes calm but cold. When their gazes finally meet, time seems to pause. No words are spoken. Edna's smile falters for the first time, and Mrs. Hughes simply says, her voice low and even, "You should be careful what you write, Miss Braithwaite. Words have a way of finding the wrong hands." Edna's face tightens, fear flickers, then disappears behind another practiced smile. "I'm sure I don't know what you mean," she replies softly. Mrs. Hughes nods once, a gesture that feels final. "No," she says, "I don't suppose you do." Not yet. As Mrs. Hughes turns away, the air feels heavier. The game has changed. The watcher has made herself known, and Edna, for the first time, realizes she's being hunted by someone far more dangerous than she imagined. Night settles over Downton like a secret. The grand house, so proud in daylight, now breathes in silence. The candles burn lower, shadows deepen, and every footstep seems to echo louder than it should. It's the hour when truth stops hiding. When people show who they really are. Mrs. Hughes walks down the narrow corridor outside the maids' rooms, her lantern casting long shapes along the wall. Her face is calm, but her eyes carry a storm. She stops at Edna's door. For a moment, she listens. The faint sound of papers shuffling, a drawer closing. Edna is still awake. Perfect. A single knock, firm, cold, not a question, a command. Edna opens the door, startled but trying to appear composed. "Mrs. Hughes," she says softly, her tone sweet as honey, but trembling underneath. "Is something the matter?" Mrs. Hughes steps inside, slow and deliberate, her presence filling the small room like thunder before rain. She looks around the tidy bed, the candle on the table, and beside it, the letter Mrs. Hughes had already read. She doesn't need to touch it again. The evidence is there, the arrogance of it. "You've been busy," Mrs. Hughes says finally, her voice quiet but sharp enough to cut. "Writing letters, making plans that aren't yours to make." Edna straightens, her mask slipping into defiance. "You've no right to go through my things," she snaps. Mrs. Hughes doesn't flinch. "And you've no right to play games with Mr. Branson's life." The silence that follows is heavy, like air before lightning. Edna's breath quickens. "You think you can frighten me?" She whispers, though her voice wavers. "You're just a housekeeper." Mrs. Hughes takes one slow step forward, her expression unreadable. She says softly, "a housekeeper who knows every secret this house has ever buried. And trust me, Miss Braithwaite, if you give me a reason, I'll see to it you become one of them." The words land like a slap, quiet but final. Edna blinks, the color draining from her face. For the first time, she sees not the kindly woman who runs the servants' hall, but the quiet power behind it, the keeper of order, the silent judge of Downton's world. Mrs. Hughes leans slightly closer, her tone now colder, controlled. "You will leave Mr. Branson alone. You will pack your things before morning. And if you ever dare to spread a word of this, I'll make certain no house in England takes you in. Do we understand each other?" Edna nods. Morning breaks over Downton Abbey like nothing ever happened. The sky glows pale gold over the stone walls. The servants move as they always do, trays clinking, floors polished, whispers passing through corridors like wind. To the house, it's just another day. But beneath that perfect order, one person is falling apart. Edna. Her footsteps are rushed now, uneven. Her hands shake as she folds her clothes into a small trunk. The same hands that once reached too high now tremble with fear. The candle on her bedside table burns low, its wax spilling like the pride she's lost. She glances toward the door again and again, half expecting Mrs. Hughes to appear, though the older woman doesn't need to. Her words still echo, circling Edna's mind like a warning she can't escape. Downstairs. Mrs. Hughes oversees breakfast with her usual calm. She doesn't mention Edna, she doesn't need to. Carson, ever observant, notices her steady tone, the faint edge of satisfaction in her voice, but he asks no questions. Years of working together have taught him that when Mrs. Hughes is quiet, something important has already been handled. In the servants' corridor, a hush follows Edna wherever she goes. No one knows exactly what happened, but they can feel it, the way eyes lower when she passes, the way whispers fade into silence. Gossip, even here, respects fear. When her trunk is packed, Edna stops for one last look around the small room she once thought was only the beginning of her climb. The walls seem smaller now, the air colder. She tells herself she'll find another place, another chance. But deep down, she knows this is an ending. As she steps out with her suitcase, Mrs. Hughes appears at the end of the hall, standing tall and still. Their eyes meet, no anger, no pity, just truth. Mrs. Hughes doesn't speak. She only nods once, a gesture both farewell and final judgment. Edna lowers her gaze and walks past. Her footsteps fade down the hall, down the stairs. Out the servants' door, the same way she came in, unnoticed and unmissed. Outside, the air is crisp, the world wide and uncaring. Edna pulls her shawl tighter, her pride heavier than her luggage. Behind her, Downton Abbey stands untouched, great house keeping its secrets. One more added to the list. Inside, Mrs. Hughes closes a ledger, her face unreadable. She straightens her shoulders and carries on as if nothing at all has changed. But in truth, something has. She's reminded once more that kindness is not weakness. And silence in the right hands can be the sharpest weapon of all. The house is calm again. To calm. It's as if Downton itself has taken a long, slow breath after holding it all night. The tension that once filled its corridors has slipped away like morning mist. Servants laugh softly again, footsteps sound lighter, and the air carries a quiet peace, the kind that comes after a storm has passed, in her small sitting room. Mrs. Hughes sits by the window with a cup of tea she's forgotten to drink. The early light touches her face, softening the lines time has drawn there. She looks tired but not weary. There's a difference. Her eyes rest on the view beyond the glass, the garden still damp with dew, the sun climbing gently over the trees. This is what she protects. Not just the walls, not just the work, but the balance. The dignity of the house, the safety of those who live within it, that is her duty. And sometimes that duty demands a steel heart, She thinks of Edna for a brief moment. Not with hatred, never that. Mrs. Hughes knows the kind of hunger that drives people like her. The longing to be seen, to be more. But ambition without mercy turns poisonous, and Downton has no room for poison. So she did what had to be done. Quietly. Completely. Carson appears at the doorway, his voice breaking the stillness. "Everything running smoothly this morning, Mrs. Hughes?" She looks up, a small smile curving her lips. "As it should be, Mr. Carson." He nods, satisfied, and walks away. He doesn't ask, and she doesn't tell. That's how their world works. 1,000 secrets hidden beneath the silver. Polish and polished manners. Mrs. Hughes finally lifts her tea and takes a slow sip. The taste is warm, grounding. She sets the cup down and lets the silence stretch. There's no triumph in her victory, only peace. The quiet satisfaction of knowing that chaos has been kept at bay for another day. Outside, a bell rings for breakfast. Life at Downton continues. Untouched by the shadows it almost let in, Mrs. Hughes stands, smooths her apron, and straightens her back. Another day awaits, another round of duties, another web of secrets to keep in order. But she carries herself with calm pride, knowing one thing for certain. In a world built on hierarchy and silence, she doesn't need a title to hold power. She already does. And it isn't written in books or shown in mirrors. It lives in her steadiness, her grace, and the fear she can summon with nothing more than a whisper. Night falls once more over Downton Abbey. The lamps glow like small stars behind the windows. And the old house hums softly with life polished. Graceful and unbothered by the storm it just survived. Upstairs, laughter drifts faintly from the dining room. Down below, the servants move with practiced rhythm, their faces calm, their duties endless. The world goes on. But in the quiet corners where history hides, stories like this one live unseen, unheard, yet never forgotten. Edna is gone now, her name already fading like dust brushed from a shelf. No scandal, no gossip, just absence, and that is how Mrs. Hughes prefers it. In her room, she closes the day's ledger with steady hands. The candle flickers as she looks around, her eyes softening. Every photograph, every folded napkin, every gleam of silver, it all belongs to a world she's built and protected for years. A world held together not by rules, but by people who understand the weight of silence. She knows her place isn't in the spotlight. It never has been. Her victories are invisible, the kind that don't make noise but shape the fate of others, and that's enough. She doesn't crave thanks, or praise, or recognition. What she values is balance, the fragile peace she guards, day after day. Outside, the wind stirs through the trees, carrying whispers that never quite reach the house. It's as if Downton itself sighs, older, wiser, and safe again. Mrs. Hughes extinguishes her candle. The light fades, but her presence lingers, strong, steady, eternal. And as darkness claims the room, a quiet truth echoes through the silence. Power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it speaks in a whisper. Sometimes it wears an apron. And sometimes it stands in the shadows, watching, making sure the house and everyone inside it remains untouched by the chaos of the world. Because in Downton Abbey, even the smallest voice can command an empire of silence. And tonight, Mrs. Hughes has reminded them all, she is that voice.